What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to take a look at the Magic Square Munitioner, their version of a Masterpiece Scale Swindle. So this is the second one in the series of Combaticons from Magic Square. I am in on the set, so I did take a look at their Brawl. Now we're taking a look at Swindle. And they did somewhat upscale their Legends version of Swindle, but obviously they've made some changes to the design and they have some new hardware. So I am excited about this set. Let's take a look at this guy. He is fully painted and the head looks really good. You got the black paint, purple paint, and gray for the face. I think there might be a little bit too much paint on the face. So from some angles it does look a little strange. And when I put on the other alternate face, you'll see what I mean. But overall, good looking head. I just think the face is a little off, the mouth especially because of the paint. But it does look good. We got tan paint here for the body, a little bit of light blue, black for the thighs, black and gray for the fake wheels here, as well as the shoulder. I've heard debates on whether the purple is painted or not. The front does look painted to me, but the side may not be, so it's not clear. For sure, this hip skirt is painted, and so is this back piece here, but the side looks unpainted, so I'm not 100% certain if this is paint or not. Here's the back, by the way. It looks really nice and clean throughout. I've never really understood the look of the wheels. It looks like he's got two wheels. I know it's meant to look like it's a cross, but it looks like two wheels, and then there's a wheel here, so that's 6 wheels, and this is only a 4-wheeled vehicle. So I do find that a little strange, but overall it's a pretty good looking version of Swindle. Let's go over to his articulation. The head is on a rotating swivel. It gets up to there, which is nice. They have a nice big cutout, so you can get all the way up, down to there, and it rotates around. Shoulders rotate around on a friction joint. They go up to there on friction, and then there's an inner joint here at the shoulder, so you can get the arm all the way up to there, which is a nice combination. If you try to put this down before you put down the shoulder joint, you'll collide, so just watch out for that. Rotation at the bicep. Single jointed elbow, but it gets you well past 90 degrees. So nice articulation. This should be pushed down, so if it pushes up accidentally, just make sure you pull it back down for robot mode. For the hands, you have rotation at the wrist. The hands do seem a little bit on the small side, but he is a smaller character than the Brawl figure. The hand can also bend in and out on this hinge, and then the fingers are individually articulated. I misspoke. The bottom 3 are connected together, but the top pointer finger is separate on 2 pins, and the thumb is on a ball joint and a hinge. Yes, on a hinge, so you can bend the thumb as well. Coming down to the waist, you have ab crunch. It's on double hinge, so you can get it forward to there. You can get it back. Pretty far movement there on this. You have rotation at that same joint, at the top of it. For the legs, the hips are a little weird, just like the Brawl figure. They work a little strange, so you do want to move these hip skirts out of the way so that you can bend this. And that was a similar thing. I'm not really a big fan of the way they did it, but you can click it up to there on the ratchet and the hip skirt moves with it. I like that, but I don't like that you rotate the leg back and the hip skirt doesn't come back down. So what you need to do is push up on the thigh as you're rotating, and that will rotate that hip skirt back. Not a big deal. I find it a little bit irritating. Backwards, it uses the lower joint to get back to there. And then out to the side, you have a ratchet. That works fine. But I do think it's a little weird the way they did this. They didn't have to do it that way. We could have just made the whole thing a ratchet. It does work. It's just a little strange. Rotation of the thigh around a universal. Double jointed knee. You get the lower bend there, and then you get the upper bend. So between the two, you can get his leg all the way, which is very nice. Very nicely done. Like I mentioned, if you want to push this back, just push up as you rotate, and you can get that. And sometimes it doesn't go. You have to kind of help it along. Coming down to the feet, you have tilt pretty far. You can get it all the way pretty much. back this way on a different hinge. You have a toe tilt up if you need it. No forward and backward, a little bit at the toe, but no forward and backward on the heel. But all right, now let's go over the accessories he comes with. So we get the blaster done in this gunmetal color. Comes like this. You're going to fold down the handle, and typical Masterpiece style, you have the tab and the slot, and that fits nicely into the hand. Looks good. We also get his spare tire, which will mount on the back here, and that looks really sleek and nice, so they did a good job on that. It is just plastic, it's not a rubber tire. We also get his arm cannon, again done in this gunmetal color. This has a bunch of configuration options. So first, you can see there's a slot on the front of the arm. This can tab in right here. And me personally, that's my least favorite because it limits his articulation quite a bit. But you can do that and have him kind of firing it, you know, over the shoulder type of thing. But like I said, that's not my favorite. You can also unplug it from there. And on the side, we have the wheel. And there's a little tab right there. And this one is actually omnidirectional, so you can put it on either side if you want. It is a tight fit, but it does go in there. And personally, I prefer this because you can still bend his elbow, you can still articulate the hand, and it can stay mounted on that shoulder. And you could still, you know, do this if you want. If you want like a over the, you know, shoulder look, you can still do that. So to me, that's the best display option if you're mounting it like that. You can also take this, which is the mounting piece for vehicle mode. You could pretend this is a weapon on its own because it does have a handle, so you could do that. But I think the main intention is you're going to take this, plug this into here to get like a super machine gun, and then tab that into the arm. And now he's got this super big gun. So if you want, you can do that. And then there's one more mode, which is more of a fan mode. I didn't see any instructions or anything, but I wanted it up here. So to do that, you're going to unplug this. Unplug the tire from the back. You can lift up these just enough so you can clear this backpack piece. Pull this out of here. Fold down this piece. Fold out the bumper so it sits like this. And then put this all back in. You just had to make sure it makes its way past these pieces. You're going to push down a little bit to get it in there, and then push this back down. So with that, like this, you're going to take this, fold up the handle. We're going to take this part of the gun, mount it right here on top. And then we can take this. There's a little slot right here in the handle that will fit right on a tab on his backpack. So you can plug this in here. And now you can have that shoulder mounted look. That's my personal favorite look. I like this the best. But it's nice to have those options of display. And one last accessory is the alternate face here, which I mentioned, the smirking face. To get that off, you just pull forward on the chin, pop on the new face, and now he's got that smirking face. To be honest, this one I don't really like. It's something about the size of the smirk or shape, but you do have that option. And for a quick size comparison, there it is next to the Magic Square version of Optimus Prime and the Magic Square Brawl, and it looks really good in the Masterpiece scale. What's crazy about this is these are my favorite versions of these characters. I'm not sure about this guy yet, but at least these two are my favorite versions. Magic Square is quickly becoming a Masterpiece scale contender, but there you go. And here's another comparison I think people want to see next to the Ocular Max Fraudo, their version of Swindle. And like I mentioned earlier, the tan on this is definitely a more orangish and less brown than this one. So it does take some getting used to, but on its own, separately, it looks fine. It's just when you stand it next to this guy, it's such a different, and it doesn't come across on camera, but in person, it definitely is a different shade. But we'll be doing a full comparison, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. All right, now let's get this guy transformed into his alt mode. And come to the back here, remove the tire. And I forgot to mention, if you're using my little trick for displaying the gun on his shoulder, you can put the wheel on his butt right here. It's actually the spot for combined mode, but for storage purposes, you can put it there. But anyway, for now, just take it off, set it aside. Come back to the front, and we'll take care of these arms. So we're going to rotate the arm 180 degrees. We can push this in. We're going to separate the arm. There's a little spot to stick your finger if you need to, right there. Lift this up, rotate the hand in, come to the back, and then we're going to close up that panel. So it'll end up looking like this. Lift up the arm, and then lift up this joint here until you get it almost vertical, that inside piece. You want that out of the way. All right, go ahead and do the same thing on this side. All right, now as we have the arms taken care of, we can come to the back here. We can lift up these panels right here, and they're going to unpeg. They're actually pegged in here. You have to rotate the head to the side so that puzzle piece can come out, and just get this arm right out of the way and open that up straight. Same on this side, rotate the head to the side and open up this panel, and then you can put the head back so it's facing backwards. We're going to pull away on this. If it has resistance, it's because of these side pieces. That's what I was mentioning. You want to get those straight as possible. So open this up. You're going to fold out these wheels. You can fold out this bumper. And we're going to slide this down and tab it in. So it looks like that. We can pull forward on this front grill, but you have to actually use a spudger or something to get it out of there. It's pretty tight fit. But get that down like that and set that for now. We're going to pull up on this to separate it from here. That'll also allow you to open up this panel here, which will free this. You can bring this down, set that down like that, and we can kind of see we're starting to form the front of the vehicle. We can rotate this around 180 degrees, come to the back here, and fold these panels up. And again, make sure these arm panels are flat so it can slide right by it. So fold these in. There we go. So those should be flat inside there. Then we're going to take these arm pieces, and these are going to end up inside of here. Rotate this in and end up inside of here under his hood. And then once you get it in there, slide it forward so that this ends up flat on the outside. That's pretty important. You got to have this flat on the side. And so it should look something like that. All right, go ahead and do the other side. Again, we're going to rotate this in and then up into here, and then push forward right here until you get this flat here. And before we close this up, we're going to lift up on this. I'm going to slide this back. This is going to rotate around, and you can just lift up to get this out of the way, and then fold this back around and push it forward. So it should end up making, the front. Now we can slide this back down. The head is going to fit right in between here, between the two arms, and then there's two tabs here. They're going to fit into the two slots on the front grille. So bring this down, line this up. And by the way, before we close it, it looks like the inside of that purple plastic is unpainted, but it looks like the outside is painted. And I believe that to be true because I actually have a little bit of marring here. So I'm pretty sure it is painted, but hard to tell. All right, get that plugged in. This should be plugged into the front. These wheels, you're going to open up this wheel well, bring this up, tab it into the side, and then the back is going right into here. There's a little tiny little slot for that to go in. All right, same with this one. Open this up, bring this back, press it in, and make sure that wheel well goes in there. So we're looking like this now Front of the vehicle's looking pretty good. Here, we're going to rotate the waist 180 degrees, rotate your leg 180 degrees on both. And now we'll take care of the legs. And like I mentioned, the legs are kind of the harder part of the whole thing. So I'm going to show you one, and then we'll do the other one off camera. Go ahead and unpeg this from here. And we're going to unpeg it from the inside as well. And again, a spudger could help. You could do it with your hands, but I'm going to use a spudger. So unpeg this 2 tabs here. And once you do that, you can lift this whole panel out. Again, a tab here and a puzzle piece tab here. Move this up and out of the way and just get this moved so you can have some space. So this is what you got on the inside. We're going to unpeg this panel right here from the front. So pull forward on this. Again, if you need a spudger, go ahead and use a spudger. There we go. Once you get it cracked, it's easier, but it's just hard to get that first initial crack open. Fold this foot out so you get some space. There we go. This tab is a little tight. There's a peg and a tab right there. So just be aware that one is the tightest one that you're trying to get out. All right. Come to the inside here, and you can kind of open up the leg one click so you have some space to work. And take this panel here. This is going to accordion up. There's a slot in the back of the leg right here. So you got to shift the knee back on this double hinge so that tab can make its way in there. So tab that in, and then this panel kind of collapses up on the back, and leave this open for now. This, come to the bottom, we're going to open up this little black piece that'll swing this panel. Rotate this around to this side. Open up the wheel and then peg it in like that. Come back to here, and we're going to fold this panel up. This foot is going to end up inside, so fold this down. Fold that like this so you have the foot folded on top of the heel. Slot here, tab there, so bring this in, tab it into the inside of the inner thigh. This will come down, tab in over here. This is going to come over, you're going to slide it out, this piece right here, and then fold it over and tab it into the bottom of the foot like that. This piece, this is on a slider. Slide it down and then hold it and tab it in right there. Rotate this forward, and before you collapse it in, you're going to open up this teeny tiny little tab that makes the back of his truck, or back of the vehicle. And now we can close this up. Make sure this is perfectly straight. Make sure that's straight. All that should be closed up. Bring this forward and slide this in and tab it into the side of the leg. This is going to come down, and this is one of the harder tabs to get in. There's a slot right there and a slot in the back and 2 tabs on the side. So you're going to get those lined up and pushed in. So give it a squeeze so it looks like that, nice and flush. And the black little seat will sit on the top of the thigh and make it look like a chair. All right. Come to the bottom. This tab is going to tab into here. So bring this down, tab that in. That'll just hide this all away on the bottom. And then lastly, we're going to take this, and there's multiple tabs. So there's one on the inside right here. This tabbing into the side of his hip. And then there's 2 right here, purple and tan, that are going into this. So that all holds it together. You got to get all 3, and they're all at the same time, so it's a little tricky. Oh, and before we do that, I almost forgot, steering wheel. So come to the inside, fold the steering wheel out, then do what I was just showing you how to do. Get these two pieces in. And I will say this is probably the trickier part of the entire transformation. But once you get it, it lines up very, very nicely. So it's not like bendy plastic or anything. All right, now that we have both legs together and attached on the sides, we could take care of this centerpiece. So you want it facing with this on the front, these two on the side, and then that hole towards the back. So get that pegged in there. You're going to close up the legs. There's two pegs. There's one here and a bigger one on the top. And you're going to squeeze it together. You can kind of hold right here. That gives you some good leverage. And then for this one, you can kind of hold right here and get that squeezed together. It's hard to get it all the way. Look at that one I just got. It should come closer, but sometimes it's hard to get this top one to go all the way. All right, last but not least, we're going to take these guns and we can attach this one right there using that slot. And then we're going to take the other one, and this little peg there, you're going to attach it with that. And then come to the back, and of course we can take our tire and plug it into these two slots. And lastly, we're going to take this wheel. This is going to roll down a little slot on the inside of the wheel. You're going to plug that into there. I'm just going to roll this down and then plug this in to there. All right, and there he is in vehicle mode. And pretty nice looking Jeep. I'm not sure I love the smoked headlights and windshield. I think they could have stood to be blue. So it looks a little odd because that looks more realistic, but then the rest of it looks like super tuned. It does roll nicely on these wheels. They're plastic, they're not rubberized. Here's the back, we got that spare tire. You have the rotating turret here. You can also rotate these up and down if you want. Steering wheel can move up and down. There is space here for a character. Now I did attempt to put in the Masterpiece Spike from Hound, and he's a little bit big. He doesn't quite fit. It's pretty awkward. I don't know why he'd be riding around in Swindle, but if you put the MP10 Spike in, then it's a little too small. So something in between the two I think is right. That looks too small. It looks like a baby. So I'd rather put this one, but just to give you a sense of what could fit in there. And for a quick size comparison, there it is next to the Magic Square Optimus Prime. It does look a little bit big in vehicle mode, but overall I think it works in the Masterpiece scale. I think it's a little bit bigger just because it has to fit as the leg for Bruticus. All right, and for another comparison, which I think people want to see, there it is next to the Oculomax Frado, their version of Swindle. And it is quite a bit different. The styling overall is different, color scheme, but then the blue tinted windshield and headlights definitely changes it up. Also the size, it is smaller in every dimension, height, width, and length, just because it's not making, it ends up being a smaller combiner. And I don't want to spend too much time because I am doing a full comparison on these two, but just wanted to point out those differences. All right, now let's get Munitioner into combine mode. And relatively straightforward, but a couple things you got to do. So first off, we're going to open up these side panels here. We're going to flip this down on the front, fold the steering wheel in, bring this back up. On the back here, you can split this. Actually, let's put this back together before we do that. And get these tabbed in. Make sure the tabs on the inside make their way in so it all lines up. Otherwise, you'll have some trouble. All right, come to the back, remove this wheel, open up this, and rather than pushing with your hands, I recommend pulling with a spudger. And then just pull this off, set that aside, and then don't squeeze it all the way back together, just get it like that. Come to the inside here, we're going to put the wheel in here. So it sits right across this part. It can be a little tight due to the paint, but fold that down and it should sit like this. leave this open. We're going to bring in the foot part. Here's what it looks like. It is painted in that tan paint and then gray for the foot. They are going to have the tune style with the tan foot later, but for now we have this. So this is going to fit around this peg right here. So make sure you get that actually in there in the right spot. And then once you get it on there, you're going to squeeze the bottom together. It's a little challenging to get it actually squeezed because you can't see the tab. All right, there we go. It really was stuck, so I had to get the paint on there. But now it will go together. Give it a squeeze on the bottom. So you squeeze that bottom part together. Come to the back. There's a tab right here. It's going to go into a slot right on the back of the Jeep. So line that up. Give that a squeeze. And then you're going to come to the top here, and you're going to fold this down. It just sits right there. And you can see there's some slots here to attach the leg. But basically, there's your leg bone. And you get articulation like this. You also get the toe bend. So you can lift this up on a double hinge. So you can do a walking pose. Pretty nice. Definitely shaping up to be a very good combiner. And one last thing, you can store the weapons here. So use the tabs. There's multiple ways to store it, but I'm just going to show you the way I did it. Plug this in here, and then this. You can use this tab to plug it in to the side. And there you go. And you could, again, store multiple ways, but nice that they thought about that. And for a size comparison, there it is next to the Zeta Toys version of Swindle and the Ocular Max Swindle, obviously being the smallest. About the same size, maybe a tiny bit smaller than this version, although we don't know what the knee joint is going to look like, so it might end up being the same. But right now, pretty close on these. This one is much, much smaller. For size comparison, there it is next to the Magic Square version of Brawl. So you can see how it stands next to about the same height, maybe a little bit shorter than the top of his head. So final recommendations on the Magic Square Munitioner. I think they did a good job on this. I'm going to give it a 4 to 5. I'm going to recommend it. Overall, the robot mode, I think, looks really nice. They nail that cartoon aesthetic. Overall, the articulation, accessories, everything just works well. I think I could stand to use slightly better faces. This one especially, the smirking one's a little weird. I think it has to do with the thickness of the paint. But this face is fine for me, so I'm okay. Other thing is the hips. They still haven't figured out exactly how to do the hips. It's a little awkward and quirky. It does work. It functions. It performs, but it's a little awkward. So that's something I think they can improve. Now, this is only their third MP figure, so maybe that's some of the growing pains is figuring out ratchets and figuring out hardware. But either way, I'm still in. I'm excited to get this whole set. Stay tuned for the comparison with the Ocular Max Fraudo, their version of Swindle. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.